Hare Krishna. We welcome all of our YouTube live listeners and our Facebook live listeners. Welcome to all of you to this session 106 of Sri Bhagavatamrita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamalini Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangraye Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Aradhya Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayas Tathama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Vakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramana Mamalam Prema Pumartha Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tatra Dharana Paraha Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanatha Swami Niti Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swami Niti Namine Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaurakatha Dhamadaya Nagaragramatarine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. We again welcome all of our YouTube live listeners and our listeners over Facebook Live. Welcome to all of you to this session 106 of Sri Bhagavatamrita. As we are nearing to the conclusion of the Bhagavatamrita series, we are at the 12th canto. The last 4 chapters are remaining. So today we will cover 2 chapters. Tomorrow we will do 1 chapter, and day after tomorrow, which is the last day, we will do the final chapter of the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So before we proceed further, we would like to announce our participants of the quiz session from last time. And at the end of today's session, there'll be some exciting announcements. So please stay tuned. This will be in regards to special sessions tomorrow and day after. So we have something very special planned out for all of you. So please do stay tuned to find out at the end of the session what that special session is going to be. Okay, so the YouTube participants, we would like to congratulate these devotees, Geeta Varadarajan Mataji, Hari Krishna Maddali Prabhu, Janeshwar Gauranga Prabhu, and Varshana Chitra Mataji. Congratulations to all of you. And from Facebook, we would like to congratulate Ranjani Gopika Mataji. So today we are going to cover two chapters of the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is chapter 10 and chapter 11. Chapter 10 is entitled Lord Shiva and Uma Glorify Markandeya Rishi. So in this chapter, Srila Sutta Goswami is describing how Markandeya Rishi received special benedictions from Lord Shiva. So we saw in the previous few chapters how Prabhu was explaining in the last session that how Markandeya Rishi was recipient of very special mercy from Krishna himself. He wanted to see the illusory potency of the Lord, and the Lord granted, that he was such special mercy. Markandeya Rishi was able to see that, Krishna, baby Krishna, on a banyan leaf, and Krishna is sucking his toe, of his leg in his mouth. And Markandeya Rishi actually entered into Krishna's stomach, and he was able to, visualize everything that he wanted to see. It was the fulfillment of all of his desires. And when Krishna breathed out, Markandeya Rishi came out. Very mystical, very, very mystical pastime. In fact, this pastime, it is said to have been taking place at Sri Jagannath Puri, at Purushottam Kshetra. This is according to the Uttarakhanda of the Skanda Purana, in the Jagannath Mahima of the Purushottam Kshetra. It is explained that the banyan tree, the leaf of which Krishna was able to give darshan to Markandeya Rishi, that banyan tree is still there in the courtyard of the Jagannath temple. Very special, very, very special place at Jagannath Puri. So those of us who are fortunate enough to enter into Jagannath Puri temple, please, next time, if you've not visited that banyan tree, there is a Brahmavedi, and right next to that, Brahmavedi is the place where the Devatas and Lord Brahma are said to come and sit and worship Lord Jagannath as the Lord of the universe. So there's a banyan tree right next to that. And this banyan tree is the same that Markandeya Rishi had darshan of Sri Krishna in the form of a little baby. So very beautiful pastime, Markandeya Rishi, glorious soul. So now we'll see how in this chapter, Markandeya Rishi is receiving special favor from Param Vaishnav and Param Vaishnavi. That is Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati. So Srila Sutta Goswami is saying, the Supreme Lord Narayan had arranged the opulent display of his bewildering potency. Markandeya Rishi, having experienced it, took complete shelter of the Supreme Lord. And Markandeya Rishi spoke to Krishna. He said, O Lord Hari, I take complete shelter at the soles of your lotus feet, which bestow fearlessness upon all who surrender to them. Even the great demigods are bewildered by your illusory potency, which appears to them in the guise of knowledge. So Markandeya Rishi is giving a disclaimer. He's saying that even Lord Brahma, or the highest of all the demigods, even they are bewildered by your own potency, including even Lord Shiva. We have seen in the Srimad Bhagavatam how Lord Shiva, he thought that he can withstand the beautiful form of Mohini Murti. He was bewildered. So even the greatest of all demigods, they are bewildered by this, mystical potency of the Lord. So what to speak of ordinary living entities? This is how Markandeya Rishi, he is glorifying Sri Krishna, and therefore he's saying that I seek shelter of your lotus feet, my dear Lord. So Srila Sutta Goswami continues to say, so Lord Rudra, one time, he was traveling in the sky on his bull, accompanied by his consort Rudrani, as well as his personal associates, and they observed Markandeya Rishi, who was in a meditative trance. So when Goddess Uma, Parvati Devi, when she saw the sage, she addressed her Lord, her master. She said that, my dear Lord, just see this beautiful Brahmana. His body, mind, and senses are motionless because he's completely seeked shelter of the Supreme Lord. He's as calm as the waters of the ocean when the wind has ceased and the fish remains still. Therefore, my dear Lord, since you bestow perfection on the performers of austerity, please award this sage the perfection that is obviously due to him. So we see here that although Markandeya Rishi was the recipient of the direct mercy coming from Krishna himself, direct mercy in the form of, he interacted with Narayan Rishis. He was, directly he saw with his own eyes, he visualized and he saw Krishna. Such a great personality, Markandeya Rishi. But then even here, the Param Vaishnavi, Goddess Parvati, she's telling her dearly beloved husband that please, you are, you give special benedictions to such devoted personalities. So please give your special blessings to this sage, Markandeya. So you see, a devotee, a genuine devotee, is always seeking for mercy. They're always seeking for the mercy of the other Vaishnavas. That is the true ornament of a Vaishnava. They never feel that, oh, now I am qualified to give blessings to others, that I don't need anything from anybody else. No. A devotee always wants to also keep nurturing themselves, always seeking shelter of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. That is one of the greatest ornaments of a devotee. So in that sense, Goddess Uma, she is pleading with her husband that please, my Lord, please give your mercy to this beautiful sage, Markandeya Rishi. And Lord Shiva responded by saying, surely this greatly saintly Brahmana does not desire any benediction. He does not have any desire for any benediction. He does not even desire liberation because he has attained pure devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, akama sarva kama va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. That is the position of Markandeya Rishi, that he only wants to be engaged in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. He doesn't desire even liberation, what to speak of any other benedictions. But then Lord Shiva says, still, my dear Bhavani, let us go and talk to this saintly personality. After all, association with saintly devotees is man's highest achievement. So we can see here, Krishna Chaitanya, excuse me, we can see here the humility of Lord Shiva himself. Lord Shiva, he's not thinking that, yes, I am going to give benediction to Markandeya. Rather, he's saying, yes, this will give us an opportunity to associate with such a sincere devotee of the Lord. So let's go and talk to Markandeya Rishi. This is the sign of a genuine Vaishnava. That is why Lord Shiva is called Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. That although he is, he is the topmost of all Vaishnavas, but Lord Shiva, he never loses an opportunity to glorify Krishna and his dear devotees. To specially favor the devotees of Krishna is the special privilege. And to associate with such devotees is a special privilege to Lord Shiva, as we see here in this particular verse. So Srila Sutta Goswami continues to say that having thus spoken, Sri Shankar Mahadev Shiva Shambhu, who is the shelter of pure souls, master of all spiritual sciences, and controller of all living beings, he came and approached the sage. But at that time, Markandeya Rishi was deep in meditation. He was meditating on the transcendental, the soft lotus feet of Krishna. He was meditating on the soft lotus feet of Krishna. So he had no external awareness, Markandeya Rishi. So Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati came and stood in front of Markandeya Rishi. Markandeya did not even realize it. He was so absorbed in his deep meditation of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So then Lord Shiva immediately understood that Markandeya Rishi is meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna. So Lord Shiva entered into the deep meditation of Markandeya Rishi, it is explained. Sutta Goswami explains this. He entered into the deep meditation of Markandeya Rishi, and at that very moment, Markandeya Rishi suddenly saw Lord Shiva appear within his heart. Lord Shiva's golden hair, it resembled like lightning. And he had 3 eyes, Trinetra, 2 eyes and 1 in the forehead. He had 10 arms and a tall body, tall, handsome body that shone like the rising sun. Lord Shiva is a very handsome personality. He wore a tiger skin, Lord Shiva, and he carried a trident, a bow, arrows, a sword, a shield, along with prayer beads, japamala, damru, and he had a skull and an axe. So these are the weapons that Lord Shiva was carrying in his 10 hands. And astonished, the sage immediately came out of his trance, and he thought, where did Lord Shiva suddenly appear from? And opening his eyes, the Lord, Markandeya Rishi immediately saw this glorious Rudra standing in front of him, along with Uma and Rudra's followers. Markandeya Rishi then offered his respectful obeisances by bowing down his head at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. And Markandeya Rishi worshipped Lord Shiva along with Uma and all of the associates of Lord Shiva by offering them words of welcome, sitting places, water for washing their lotus feet, scented drinking water, fragrant oils, flower garlands, and arati. You see, this is the way that guests are supposed to be received. When anyone comes to our home, atithi. Atithi means Tithi means a date. Atithi means without date, without any announcement. When we just see a knock on the door and we open the door and we have some guests, they are called as Atithi. Atithi Devo Bhava. So when we receive guests, we must receive them in the same way that Markandeya Rishi taught. Washing their lotus feet, first offering them, please welcome them with pleasing words. Give them a proper place to sit. Wash their lotus feet. Give them some water to drink. Give them flower garlands. Give them arati and something to eat. So this is the way we honor our guests. And Markandeya Rishi said, O mighty armed Lord, what can I possibly do for you? You are fully satisfied in your own ecstasy, my dear Lord Shiva. And you satisfy the entire world because you are so self-satisfied. So Srila Sutta Goswami says, Lord Shiva, who is the foremost of all the devatas and the saintly shelter of all the devotees, he was very, very pleased with Markandeya Rishi's humility and his praise. And pleased, Lord Shiva smiled and he spoke to Markandeya Rishi. So Lord Shiva said, please, my dear sage, ask me for some benediction. Since among all givers of benedictions, 3 of us, that's Brahma, Vishnu and myself are the best. Seeing us can never go in vain, because simply by seeing us is, a mortal achieves immortality. Means they achieve liberation. So therefore, please ask me a benediction. So then Lord Shiva continues to say that even the worst sinners and social outcasts are purified just by hearing about or seeing personalities like you. Imagine then how purified they become by directly speaking with you. So Lord Shiva here is glorifying Markandeya Rishi. That, not only, yes, I am here to give you some benedictions, but I am also here because I also want to become more and more purified in your association because of your purity. This is a song that is sung in the glorification of the Vaishnavas. Srila Narottam Das Thakur, he sings in his glorification of the Vaishnavas, he says that Gangaro porosho hoile পশ্চাতে পাব দর্শনে পবিত্র কর এই তোমার গুণ, which means that Vaishnavas, Ganga and all the holy places, the holy tirthas, holy waters, we get purified when we touch them, when we take a dip in the holy Ganges, or when we go and visit the holy Dham, we get purified. But just by seeing, darshane pavitra karo, ei tomar gun, that just by seeing a Vaishnava purifies us. So this is what Lord Shiva is also saying here in glorification of a Vaishnava. In text 25, he's saying even the worst sinners and social outcasts are purified just by hearing about. So Lord Shiva is even taking it a step further. He's saying even if they hear about such personalities like you, they are immediately purified. So what about, what if they are even seeing you or speaking to you? How much more purification will they get? Just by hearing about you, they can get so much purification. So he's glorifying the Vaishnava in this way, Lord Shiva himself. So in text 26, Srila Sutta Goswami says, drinking with his ears Lord Shiva's nectarian words, full of the confidential essence of religion, Markandeya Rishi, he felt so satisfied. Lord Shiva spoke beautiful words of instructions in glorifying, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the devotees. So then Markandeya Rishi said that it is indeed most difficult for, embodied souls to understand the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, because, the Supreme Lord's activities are so mystical. But my dear Lord, since I have received the benediction of seeing you, what other benediction can I ask for? Simply by seeing you, a person fulfills all his desires and can achieve anything unimaginable. So, but I request one benediction, Markandeya Rishi says, that I just want one benediction from you. So I ask to have unfailing devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and for his dedicated devotees like yourself. So, Krishna Bhakti and Krishna Anugrahi Bhakti, the followers of Krishna, the devotees of Krishna, I want devotion to such personalities also. Means to the Supreme Lord and to the servants of the Supreme Lord. I just want this benediction. Such a perfect benediction is asked by Markandeya Rishi. So Sutta Goswami, he says that being worshipped in this way by Lord Shiva, immediately Lord Shiva was so pleased. He said that, my dear sage, because you're devoted to Lord Adhokshaja, all your desires will be fulfilled. And until the very end of this creation cycle, you will enjoy pious fame and freedom from old age and death. So Lord Shiva gives his benediction, and what Markandeya Rishi desired, Lord Shiva gave him that, and he gave him much more than that also. Lord Shiva says that may you have perfect knowledge of the past, present, and future, and along with transcendental realization of the Supreme Lord. And you have the brilliance of an ideal Brahmana, and thus may you achieve the post of spiritual master of all the Puranas. That you are the Guru, you're the original Guru of all the Puranas. I give you that position. So this was the position offered by Lord Shiva himself as the Guru of the Puranas to Markandeya Rishi. So having thus been granted, such beautiful benedictions to Markandeya Rishi, Lord Shiva left from there, and he, continued on with his journey. And Markandeya Rishi, the best of the descendants of Bhrigu, is glorious because of his achievement of perfection in mystic yoga. And even today, Sutta Goswami says that even today he is traveling about in this entire world, and he is fully absorbed in unalloyed devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his faithful servitors. So Markandeya Rishi, he is a Chiranjeevi. So we can beg, for blessings from Markandeya Rishi. It is said that, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he actually comments. He says that Markandeya Rishi, Narad Muni, such personalities. Narad Muni is a personality who travels even in the spiritual world, in all different creations of the Lord. Markandeya Rishi, he's traveling within our Bhuloka. So it is said that just like Narad Muni, he sits whenever there is Bhagavad Katha or the Arati of the Lord is going on. Narad Muni comes there. Like Srila Prabhupada mentioned this so many times. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Markandeya Rishi, he is also present when there is beautiful Bhagavad Katha going on, where there is glorification of devotees of the Supreme Lord. Markandeya Rishi is present there. So the ideal benediction that we can beg from Markandeya Rishi is that we may also be blessed by Markandeya Rishi to be able to engage in the unalloyed loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and his devoted servitors, like Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Vargas. That is the benediction that we can beg from Markandeya Rishi. So Sutta Goswami concludes, he says that, this account that is concerning Markandeya Rishi, it conveys the transcendental potency of the Supreme Lord. And anyone who properly narrates this pastime, anyone who hears this pastime with sincerity and devotion, will never again undergo material existence. They will return back to Godhead, and they will attain the desire of fulfillment of their spiritual desires. This is what is the concluding verse of this particular chapter. So we again beg for blessings from Markandeya Rishi, and we hope that we've been able to narrate it properly by the blessings of our Guru Vargas and Srila Prabhupada. And we hope that you all also derived great transcendental bliss just by listening to this katha, the mystical katha of Markandeya Rishi. So this brings us to chapter 11, which is entitled The Summary Description of the Mahāpuruṣa. Now, this chapter describes the Mahāpuruṣa and the various expansions of the sun in different months. Krishna Chaitanya. So, text 1, Shaunaka Rishi is asking that, my dear Sutta Goswami, You are the best of learned men and a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, we now inquire from you about the definitive conclusion of all Tantra scriptures. So please explain to us. We are very, very eager to learn the process of Kriya Yoga, which is practiced through the regulated worship of the Supreme Lord. So please also explain how the devotees of the Lord conceive of the Lord's limbs, his associates, his weapons, his ornaments in terms of particular material representations. By expertly worshipping the Supreme Lord, a mortal can attain immortality. So basically, here the sages of Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka Rishi, they are asking the Mahāpuruṣa form of the Lord, which is also called as the Virat Rupa form of the Lord, that how can the devotees see the Lord in their day-to-day work, in their day-to-day activities? How can we train ourselves to perceive the Lord even in the material representations? So Sutta Goswami is responding that offering obeisances to my spiritual masters, I shall repeat to you the description of the opulences of Lord Vishnu, which is given in the Vedas by great authorities, beginning from the lotus-born Lord Brahma. So the universal form, the Virat Rupa of the personality of Godhead, includes 9 basic elements of creation, starting with the unmanifest nature and their subsequent transformations. Once this universal form is instilled with consciousness, the 3 planetary systems become visible within it. So this is the representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the universal person, as the Virat Rupa, in which the earth is his lotus feet, the sky is the navel, the lotus navel of the Lord is the sky. The sun is his eyes, the wind is his nostrils, the demigod of procreation are his genitals, death his anus, and the moon is his mind. The heavenly planets are his head. The directions are his ears, and the demigods protecting the various planets are his beautiful, long, elongated arms. The god of death is his eyebrows. Shame is his lower lip. Greed is his upper lip. Delusion is his smile. And moonshine is his teeth. While the trees are the Almighty Purusha's bodily hair, and the clouds are the hair on his head. Upon his chest, the almighty unborn personality of Godhead bears the Kaustuba gem, the Kaustuba Mani, which represents the pure spirit soul. So the Kaustuba Mani in the Virat Purusha, Virat Rupa of the Lord, the Kaustuba Mani is the representative of the Jiva Tattva, of the living entity of the spirit soul, along with the Srivatsa mark, which is the direct manifestation of this gem's expansive effulgence. Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna are the names of the direct personal expansions of the Supreme Godhead. Anyone who rises early in the morning and with a purified mind fixed upon the Mahāpuruṣa quietly chants this description of his characteristics will realize him as the Supreme Absolute Truth residing within the heart. And in this regard, we know how the even in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that when he is revealing about the, his, universal form, Krishna is saying the same thing. That, all of this features, it's just that wherever you see, so that we can develop the eyes, to train our eyes to see Krishna, to see even the material creation in relation to Krishna. That is the purpose of this Virat Rupa form of the Lord. So then, it is explained that the Sutta Goswami explains about the sun god. He says he describes the sun god in many features according to different material designations. To sustain the world, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he manifests his potency of time as the sun, and he travels throughout the 12 months, beginning with Chaitra, along with 12 sets of personal associates. The sun travels in this way. So it is said in the concluding verse of this chapter, it is said that one who remembers the opulences of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, in his form as the sun, will become free of his sinful reactions. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he gives us a very beautiful meditation in relation to this particular chapter. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur recommends that we become humble by practicing the following meditation. The earth, which is always visible to me, this should be our meditation. So this is in quotes. So the earth, which is always visible to me, is the expansion of the lotus feet of my Lord, who is always to be meditated upon. All moving and non moving living beings have taken shelter of the earth and are thus sheltered at the lotus feet of my worshipable Lord. For this reason, I respect every living entity and not envy anyone. In fact, all living entities constitute the Kaustuba money on my Lord's chest. Therefore, I should never envy or deride any living entity. So, by practicing this meditation, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that we will be able to, be on the right path of devotional service. The verse of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Trinadapi Shunichena, Tarorapi Sahishnuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. That, how can we really do, constantly chanting of the holy names without any cessation? If we can, be humbler than a blade of grass, we can be more tolerant than a tree, and we can offer all respect to others and expect none in return. Only then we can do Kirtaniya Sadahari. And that is possible only if we are non-envious. If we become non-envious, Ajata Shatrava, that is a very, very important characteristic of a person aspiring to be a sadhaka. That is something that we need to work on ourselves. So this meditation that is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is going to help us to get rid of that envious nature that is so inbuilt and ingrained within us. It'll help us overcome that. When we start seeing everyone in relation to Krishna. So this is the meditation that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur recommends as, the summum bonum of this, the summary of this particular chapter. So with this today, we will end our session. If there's any questions, comments, or reflections, we can take that now. And before we share our quiz with all of you, we have this very exciting news to share with all of you. Krishna Chaitanya, excuse me. So, okay, first let's share the quiz. We have 10 questions today. First, what is the true ornament of a Vaishnava? Second, what benediction did Markandeya Rishi ask from Lord Shiva? Third, what additional benediction did Lord Shiva bestow on Markandeya Rishi? Fourth, what benediction can we beg from Markandeya Rishi? Fifth, what is the Shruti Phala of hearing the pastime of Markandeya Rishi? Sixth, what is the Virat Rupa smile and teeth compared to? Seventh, what does Kaustuba Mani in the Virat Rupa represent? Eighth, what is the Srivatsa mark signify? Ninth, what will happen to one who meditates on Lord Krishna as the sun? 10th, what will help us overcome our enviousness? So these are the quiz questions. So our announcement, the special announcement that we have is that for the next two sessions, for tomorrow and day after, that is session 107 and session 108, we will be doing a very, very interactive session with all of you. So we will be, broadcasting over YouTube as well as Facebook. But those of you who would like to interact with us, we will be sending out a Zoom link um, in the group. So please join us on Zoom so that you will be able to interact with us. And we want to keep it very lively session, and you may ask us questions over Zoom. You may, share your realizations. And regarding sharing of realizations, we have a special request to all of you that now that we are nearing the end of the Bhagavatamrita session of the 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, that all of you, if you feel comfortable, then please send us a 3-4 minute or a 5 minute maximum video recording of yourself, like a testimony, which we may put, on our Facebook page, and we will share your testimony or your realizations with everyone. So this is something that we request of you. You can send us a personal message with your video testimony, and we would truly, truly, love to hear about your feedback from these sessions. And tomorrow and day after session will be very, very interactive. So please do join us over Zoom. So we look forward to your association tomorrow and day after. If there's any questions, we're just going to check. So from Facebook, we would like to thank Austin and Parameshwari Radha Padavi Mataji, Divyalita Mataji, and Prem Vikas Prabhu. Vraja, welcome. Ramanuja Mataji, Shanti Mataji, welcome. Shamala, welcome. So thank you all so much for joining us over Facebook. From YouTube, we'd like to thank Soumya Mataji, Shweta Surya Narayan Mataji. Welcome after a very long time seeing you. Rajeshwari Mataji, Barshana Chitra Mataji, Anjaneshwar Gauranga Prabhu, Geeta Varadarajan Mataji, Gandharvika Gopi, Madhubhashini Mataji, and Kirti. Thank you so much for joining us. Keshavi and Venkatapati Prabhu, thank you for joining us. Swati Mataji, Radhika Mataji, Sudesh Prabhu, Shweta Manjari, Krishna Chaitanya, Reena Mataji, Vrindavani Mataji, Anju Agarwalji, Sudhaji, and Bhargavi. Thank you all so much for joining us. We look forward to all of your association again tomorrow. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, ISKCON Vartaman Guru Vrind ki jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Sitanath Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.